There does seem to be quite a lot of similarities between Nigeria and Kenya as both countries battle Islamist extremists. But Dr. Adegbulu believes both countries can emerge victorious if only their leaders wake up and take action. Meanwhile, prosecutors at the International Criminal Court in The Hague have withdrawn charges of crimes against humanity against Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta. He had been indicted in connection with post-election ethnic violence in 2007 to 2008, in which 1,200 people died. Mr. Kenyatta, who had denied the charges, said he felt vindicated.
War crimes prosecutors dropped charges against Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta on Friday, December the 5th, but said new allegations could be filed if new evidence surfaced. Judges at the Hague-based court had on Wednesday given the prosecution a week to decide whether to proceed with their case against Kenyatta, who was accused of fomenting ethnic violence after the 2007 election, or to withdraw the charges. In a court filing, prosecutor Fatou Bensouda said that the evidence has not improved to such an extent that Mr. Kenyatta's alleged criminal responsibility can be proven. Prosecutors have said Kenyatta, who had been accused of orchestrating a wave of deadly violence after Kenya's 2007 elections, used his political power to obstruct their investigation, especially since becoming president last year. Kenyatta's lawyers rejected the accusations. The court did not, however, acquit Kenyatta of the charges, as his lawyers had requested. That means the charges could be brought again in future if more evidence becomes available. On the streets of Nairobi, residents welcomed the move.
It's the best news of the century because all along we knew that President Uhuru Kenyatta was innocent, and it's only his detractors and his political competitors who have been pushing on for this case to proceed, whereas there has never been any iota of evidence.
However, a victim of the violence, Yusila Cherono, said she wanted Kenyatta to be jailed for life.
I want those people to go back to The Hague and they should not be allowed to come back. They need to be jailed for life because all the problems I'm going through are because of them. They cannot have been mentioned if they had not committed a crime. They must have done something. There is a saying that goes, where there is smoke, there is fire.
The cases against Kenyatta and his deputy, William Ruto, who faced similar charges, are the highest profile proceedings since the court was set up 11 years ago to try cases concerning grave international crime that local courts cannot handle.
Here in Nigeria, the alleged mastermind of the twin bomb explosions in Nyanya, a satellite town of the Federal Capital Territory, Aminu Oguche, has demanded 100 million naira from the Department of State Services as damages for unlawful detention. In a lawsuit filed for enforcement of his fundamental human rights, Oguche, through his lawyer, Ahmed Raji, told the court that his continued detention by the State Security Service is illegal and unconstitutional, and asked the court to order his release or his trial in court.
At the proceedings, lawyer to Aminu Oguche urged the court to discountenance Section 27 of the Terrorism Act, which the Department of State Services has been relying on to detain his client. He argued that the said section is inferior to the Constitution, which stipulates a time frame within which an accused person should be arraigned. According to him, the continued detention of the accused without persecution is illegal and unconstitutional.
We're just asking that his rights be enforced in the sense that we believe it is not within the law to detain him in excess of 4 months without charging him for anything. And they brought up an order, and we are of the opinion that that order is predicated on an invalid provisions of the law, and we are urging the court to strike down the basis of that order, because it may lead to a very dangerous precedent whereby any of the authorities can go and take an order to remand a suspect for as long as they are pleased. That will be clearly against the provisions of the Constitution, which are very clear. That is Section 35 in particular, and a few other. Of course, there are some exceptions, but our own case does not come within that exception, and therefore 35(4) must be strictly complied with.
He asked the court to order the Department of State Services to pay him 100 million as damages and publish apologies in 2 national dailies as compensation for unlawful detention. He also wants the court to make an order releasing him on bail and preventing the Department of State Services from further arresting or detaining him, or in the alternative, charge him to court within 48 hours of the court granting his orders. After listening to the accused person's lawyer, Justice Adeni Ademola adjourned the case for the prosecution to show cause as to why the orders should not be granted in favor of Oguche.
Coming up after the break, fresh protests erupt across the U.S. over the choking death of a black man restrained by a policeman. Please stay with us.